Hey guys, word to the wise. Today I've got a barn burner. I got my Bible finally in my car again. I left it in my house for a while. I've been trying to make this video for 2 weeks and I just can't get it out. And when I do get things out, I feel some sort of confliction about the message. So just doing a little bit of research in the Bible, things came a lot more clear. And I tell you, it's just amazing how that works. Now, I've been watching the whole Middle East thing, trying to keep tabs, seeing what's happening from day to day. Who is doing what, why, how, where is it leading everybody? All these questions just spin in my head of like, we've seen a million different TV shows and movies and books that have all had those kind of surprise endings you didn't expect, the usual suspect. So, just trying to watch some news. Again, I've spoken about things I see with a lot of those mega churches, a lot of enormous channels that sell books and take donations, and they rub elbows with the politics. Maybe I shouldn't say the names. But I feel I have to. Looking at Jonathan Cahn, I ran into Jack Hibb, and you see these kind of how they're for Christ, how they say they believe in Jesus. They have built their churches on it. There's a brightest bluebird bouncing around in the trees right 10 feet from you. Oh, there's two of them. Sorry, I always do that. Bluebirds are just so interesting when you get a chance. And they're gone. Good. So, back to focus. I watched these news things. They're talking about, I think it was talking about how Bibi's house had gotten a drone strike. And he was saying, you shouldn't have done that, basically. So after that, all of a sudden it goes to like Jack Hibbs and Friends, or Live with Jack Hibb. It's a TV show, I think, on Fox. He even mentioned. And then he's bringing people on. And I'm not going to talk about those guys so much. I want to talk about the things that I keep hearing, because it all keeps circling around Magog, Ezekiel 38. And so you start bouncing around in those things. And the one thing he was saying, he's talking about the war that's happening over there. And he's like, oh, this is all good. This is all prophecy. This is all showing you the Bible coming to life. And people in the crowd must have been sneering at some of that, because he was constantly going, oh, no. I get what you guys are saying, but you have to understand. Oh, no. Don't be upset, because this just shows. And no. This is what we need to do. And this is Romans 11 coming to life. And I did a little research on that, but I'm not going to touch on that here. But I said to myself, Romans 12, the next chapter says, do not seek vengeance on your enemies. Vengeance is mine. I will repay. So why are you saying that it's good that what they're doing, and that we as Christians need to stand with Israel and along their side? It's like, no, that is not Jesus's message. That's not what Paul said in his gospel message to the Gentiles. And I've always heard people talk about Zechariah 12, where that is, Jerusalem or Israel will be a heavy stone. We'll get into that in a second here. So, are they speaking correctly on this? Obviously, it's a prophet speaking about the future, which is where prophecy is revealed. So let's go into the reveal of Revelation 20. And before I get started, I want to just go into these two definitions. Israel, one who struggled with God. Jerusalem, city of peace. Keep that in mind whenever you hear people talking about this. And I have seen a lot of people point out, well, you can't get confused, because there is a physical land of Israel, but there is the Israel of God. the faithful. And if you don't have Jesus, what do you have? So let me go into Revelation chapter 20. I've got my bookmarks. And this is when Satan is released from his prison. And when the 1,000 years are ended, so 1,000 years after the beast system, because if you read it, it talks about the beast system. Those who were beheaded did not partake in the beast system. So that would be like 1,000 years from now, if you wanted to even start it from now. Can't say when things are going to happen. But that would be 3000 AD. 1,000 years from now. 3024 AD. And when the 1,000 years are ended, Satan will be released from his prison and will come out to deceive the nations that are at the four corners of the earth. Key. Gog and Magog, to gather them for battle. Their numbers is like the sand of the sea, and they march up over the broad plains of the earth, surrounding the camp of the saints and the beloved city. What city would that be? Washington, D.C.? Tel Aviv? Rome? No. Obviously, there's only one city, the city of peace. But fire came down from heaven and consumed them, and the devil who had deceived them was thrown into the lake of fire, where the beast and the false prophet are. Now, for those who say that what is happening now in Jerusalem is them being the stumbling stone, let's go into that. So let's go to Zechariah 12. We'll go to verse 2. Behold, I will make Jerusalem a cup of staggering to all the surrounding people. The siege of Jerusalem will also be against Judah. On that day I will make Jerusalem a heavy stone for all the peoples. All who lift it will surely hurt themselves. All the nations of the earth will gather against it. All the nations of the earth will gather against it. On that day, declares the Lord, I will strike every horse with panic, its rider with madness, but for the sake of the house of Judah, I will keep my eyes open. When I strike every horse of the people with blindness, then the clans of Judah shall say to themselves, the inhabitants of the Jerusalem have strength through the Lord of hosts, their God. On that day, I will make the clans of Judah like a blazing pot in the midst of fire of wood, like a flaming torch among sheaves. Sounds like fire. And they shall devour the right and to the left all the surrounding people, while Jerusalem shall again be inhabited in its place in Jerusalem. Now, I'm going to expound on this a little bit. So, like a blazing pot in the midst of wood, like a flaming torch among sheaves, it shall devour to the right and to the left all the surrounding peoples, while Jerusalem shall be inhabited in its place. So, they are not hurt in this. Now, if you go to chapter 13, I will put now this is a quote, I'm just going to jump into the middle of it in verse 9. I will put this third into the fire and refine them as one refines silver and test them as gold is tested. Now I just wonder in that Revelation 20, but fire, the saints that are in the beloved city, the fire came down from heaven and consumed them. I just wonder if in Daniel, when the three are thrown into the fire, I just wonder, will Jerusalem even be in that fire at the time and not be hurt? Those who are standing with Jesus are in the beloved city. Fire comes down from heaven and burns up everyone. And then this is just a side note on this whole thing. I just wonder if that's how extreme it would be. Well, they will be in the fire as well and not get burned. I'm going to leave it at that because there's a little bit more I can press on this, looking into chapter 11 and to chapter 13 and 14, but that'll be for another time. I just want to get this across. Just looking at Revelation 20, 7 through 9, and Zechariah 12 through verses 2 and 6, because that, I believe, could be talking about the same exact thing. And if that's talking about the same thing, what's happening in the Middle East right now is not what they are proclaiming it to be. That is why Magog is not what Magog they think is, because this is, in Magog, is, and they want to refer to Zechariah 12, all nations are coming against Jerusalem. We'll say it like that. And the ones that stumble with God is Israel, but that was Jacob's struggle back in the Old Testament, where he had to have been struggling with Jesus that night. Right? So there's more to come on this. I just want to leave it at that. This is just an amazing look into these things. Word to the wise. God bless.